Remember that fake story of Richard Karn? It was fake, but Richard Karn NFTs.
I remember that.
What?
You remember that?
I do remember that. He's very memey. I feel like there's always memes of him on the internet.
NFTs.
Yeah, well, Richard Karn, the headline that I'm
Such a
seeing,
pandemic thing.
we got to ask them because I thought it was a fake story, but someone tracked him down and said Richard Karn announces NFT, immediately changes his mind. And here's a direct quote. I thought long and hard about NFTs, and I've decided it's not something I need to do. We'll find out together.
That was my same experience with NFTs.
I wish it was mine. Oh, Lordy, do I wish. An Obi Toppin rattling in a corner 3 can be yours for just $57.37.
We had nothing to do.
Jessica, what happened with that Alaskan Air flight? What are the horrors and the details of what they're saying is a technical malfunction that has now resulted in, is it a recall of?
A grounding
They
of
grounded
the
him.
Boeing MAX 9 jets. It is terrifying. This plane took off from Portland as they were on their ascent. I think people said it was around like 20 minutes into the flight. They heard a noise, like a bang at the back of the aircraft, and the pressure in the cabin immediately changed, and the little, nose bag things came down that you're supposed to breathe into and put the strap around your
Is
head.
it an
What are they
oxygen-
called?
Never
Oxygen
made,
mask?
oxygen mask.
Oxygen mask?
And they always say the bag may not inflate. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well,
The bag should
one of the
inflate.
TikToks I watched of a woman who was on this flight said that she was like having a panic attack because her bag wasn't inflating, and she was just like, basically like, could not process what was going on because it was all happening really fast. And then she realized, oh, they actually tell you that the bag doesn't inflate. I'm fine. But she was freaking out. Everyone was freaking out. No one knew what was going on. And as it turns out, there was some sort of malfunction on this plane, and the fuselage door in the back of the aircraft opened and flew out, and things were being sucked out of the plane into the night sky. People found phones on the side of the road. One phone that actually survived the fall, apparently, just on the side of the road. It was a great advertisement for Apple there. The door was found in some school teacher's backyard in Portland. And the flight was able to make an emergency landing. Everyone was safe. And paramedics came on and tended to people. Apparently, a kid's shirt got sucked off out into the night sky. It just sounds like an absolutely harrowing, terrifying experience for all these people on the plane. But luckily, the pilots were able to make a safe landing back in Portland, and they were rebooked. And now there's going to be an investigation on what happened to this jet, because it was a brand new plane that was just delivered in October, apparently.
And it was noisy, right? So they were trying to calm people, and I don't know how well you calm people when what you have seen is not just Stugotz, an airplane door fly off, and now it's noisy, and now you hear wind roaring into your airplane. But you look next to you, and a kid who used to be wearing a shirt is no longer wearing a shirt.
That's the part that would get me.
Because the shirt has been sucked out. I want you guys to imagine that happening to me. That I am just sitting
shirt
there,
wouldn't
I'm
come off.
wearing a shirt, and now it has been sucked out of the airplane, and I'm sitting there horrified, and you're looking at me, and I'm looking at you, but you're wearing a shirt, and I'm no longer wearing a shirt. That would be a real horror. And fear is sweeping over me from every angle. So I'm horrified, but I'm also covering my nipples because I'm ashamed.
Yeah, that would honestly, putting myself in that seat. My shirt. All right, say my shirt flies off.
Right.
Now I'm sitting there and I've got these nipple stickers on, and I'm like, I can't be found this way. I can't go out like this. My first
The
instinct
nipple
would be
stickers would have flown off too, Mike.
Like a
I hate to
Band-Aid?
tell
no,
you.
no, no, no,
No, they
no.
stay
They
forever.
stick.
Yeah.
You're
They
They'll be the
pepperoni-
last thing on the plane.
You're
Before I
pepperoni
put on my
nipples.
oxygen mask, I reach there and I just tear them
They'd
off.
only find the black box and the nipple
And
stickers.
those,
You have to understand what I'm saying, though, when I say to you, you give me two horrors, okay? You just put me in this situation and you give me two horrors. One, you're just telling me in the hypothetical, the door has blown off. But now you've told me that the airplane is in such tragic condition that my shirt has blown off.
So vulnerable for you.
Wait, Chris, make like a wind noise in the microphone. Hey, everybody, Dan Le Batard shirt is off in row 13.
Row 13.
Sorry, 3.
that's funny. Him and Coach.
I had him in Comfort Plus.
I think you'd actually have a good sense of humor in that moment.
No,
Like,
I wouldn't.
Really,
No, I
really, this plane is going down, and I'm the only one whose shirt gets sucked off.
But would the door coming off horrify you as much as the shirt coming off?
I believe that which would scare me more. Never mind the shame of being shirtless in front of people. Which would scare me more? The knowledge that a door had blown off in the back of the plane, and now we had a noisy problem, or the wind catching with such intensity that something that has never happened to me before, which is my shirt whips off. I can't whip my shirt off during passion. There's no whipping of the shirt
Well, that's
off.
because
Thank
you
you
got
for
the costume
creating that.
over it. You got this Viking belt buckle on. Hold on, let me get this off.
Thank God all the kids were wearing seatbelts. That
Well,
could have been horrific.
They said that the two seats immediately next to the piece of the fuselage that tore away, it's called a door plug. It covers what's sometimes used in other models of the plane as an emergency exit. So this is like a sealed up door.
It's a door.
The two seats next to it were empty. But headrests of other seats immediately were sucked out of the gaping hole in the back of the
I'm
plane.
picturing people like holding on, like like sideways.
I'm picturing Jess jumping with her phone.
Picturing Dan shirtless.
My phone!
Undoes the belt.
I would jump.
I understand that the people listening to this would say, well, of course, the suction of an airplane and a door flying off, that's a serious suction. Yes, of course, debris and phones would leave. I'm still, though, shocked by a shirt leaving someone's body because there's a degree of difficulty in getting that shirt off. I think, like, it's not a bunch of shirts. It
had to be a button-down shirt, no?
It's a single shirt.
And all the buttons just pop open.
Right.
It's an intensity, a horrifying intensity that I believe everyone
It
listening
was
to
a
this.
boy. I think it was like a T-shirt.
What
He
material?
could have been
That's
dressed
frightening.
He must have had both hands up or something.
What color was his shirt?
I'm not sure. I don't think they found the shirt yet.
You mentioned a T-shirt and it made me think of something that I saw over the break. Believe it or not, I'm flipping through Max and I happen upon engineering's greatest catastrophes. And the very first one, the very first story of this was the Carrier Dome. The Carrier Dome, I did not know any of what I'm about to tell you, that Syracuse has more snow than any place in the United States, and that the Carrier Dome, the roof is so antiquated that it is held up only by the air suction pressure in the dome, that the fabric of the dome itself is like a T-shirt. That's what the roof of the Carrier Dome is, and they get so much snow that it's an enormous problem that one day the whole thing's just going to collapse because you don't make roofs out of the material that you make T-shirts out of.
They've made changes there. My daughter goes to Syracuse, so they have made changes to that roof to make it a lot more safer, to prevent that from ever happening. It's the RCA Dome now, not the Carrier Dome, but they have made changes to that roof.
Man, I feel like you need to find the show because they called it the Carrier Dome. They did. Maybe this is an old show.
It's the RCA Dome?
I believe so, yeah.
Wow. Like the old Indianapolis Final Four host where the Colts played. RCA is back in business.
I hope so.
Okay, he is looking it up now.
It's the JMA Wireless Dome. Sorry. It was the RCA Dome for a cup of coffee.
Two fines.
I thought Carrier had like a lifetime deal on that stadium. And Carrier's an AC company, and
Yes.
famously, the dome had no AC in it for several years, only until recently.
Were you guys aware that that roof is held up only by the air beneath it? Like that?
I used to play in an indoor soccer facility like that. It was just a giant bubble.
Remember what happened in the Metrodome?
Yes, that
Yeah.
happened in the
Yes.
Metrodome.
Yeah, where
right?
all the snow built up on
They
that,
can
that
find
balloon.
video. Can find that.
That was such
yes.
a oddly satisfying video of the Metrodome roof collapsing. Thankfully, no one was hurt.
Why would you watch a show about engineering disasters?
Well, I only watched
terrifying.
that. I didn't watch the whole thing. I'm sure, Billy, that you're in the mood occasionally for something that is just chewable for 9 minutes. That you don't want a whole
Not
investment.
I like to smile in those 9 minutes. I'll put on like 30 Rock or something. I've been binging New Girl lately.
Great rewatch.
Who's that girl?
But Dan found it
Always
interesting.
Jess.
I mean,
I found 9
Carrier
minutes.
Dome.
Look
Look how satisfying this is.
Why are you saying this is satisfying?
Because when the snow
It is.
comes through,
yes.
when the snow finally bursts through and it just like just all happens.
That's scary.
It's like a good coffee-fueled morning dump.
Correct.
Is it correct?
Anytime something bursts through, Dan, it feels good.
Like popping a pimple.
Yeah.
Hubba hubba.
Yeah, I followed Dr. Pimple Popper just for crazy relief. I find it super satisfying.
To watch?
I started following this IG account that just cleans dirty rugs.
Oh,
my
I
God.
love,
I love that.
account.
Yeah, no, that is good.
So
It's so
good.
good.
cartoon planes?
No.
Oh, that one's a good one.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste, 96 calories, available for delivery. Dan, playing in the toughest division, the odds were already stacked against him. It got even tougher when he had to fire his offensive coordinator mid-season. Fans were calling for his job, despite him not having one losing season ever. Instead, he coached his team to 10 wins with Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph playing quarterback. In the face of adversity, he did not blink because he never blinks. And Dan, make no mistake about it, punching a one-way ticket to the playoffs, Mike Tomlin is back.
It's kind of unbelievable, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't understand. I really don't
Mason
understand.
Rudolph.
Got to the playoffs using 3 starting quarterbacks, none of which, I guess the jury's still out on Kenny Pickett, none of which are considered good. Fired his OC in the middle of it in a historically difficult division where everyone finished above 500. First time that's happened since 1935.
Crazy.
He found a way.
Yep.
I think one of the things that Stugotz said there, I think most of the stuff that he said made me think he was going McDermott there. Fired his offensive coordinators, never had a losing season. Did the 9/11 thing that he shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
Cut your eyelids off, Dano.
Some might say this is Mike Tomlin's best coaching job ever. Would you say it?
I would not.
Really?
I mean, he's had like 10 of these.
He won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but that was easy. Playoffs with those 3 quarterbacks.
You got a friendly whistle on that Super Bowl against the Seahawks. People forget.
That
Goff
was
versus.
Cower.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Cardinals Super Bowl was Tomlin.
My bad.
Fine.
You idiot.
All right. Well, where's the bucket?
Wow.
Here comes $1. I was wrong. Mea
Is that a
culpa.
fine?
$2.
That's a fine?
Yeah, I was wrong.
A
It
factual
was Coach
mistake?
Carr.
Yeah.
I don't know. Goff versus Stafford. The double revenge game. And once and for all, we will settle who won the trade.
We will?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Really?
Yep.
I mean, Stafford won a Super Bowl.
Feels like the Rams won it so far.
For now, though.
Okay.
Melvin Gordon
Got a friendly whistle on that Super Bowl. People forget.
is a Raven.
You could say
And
that
still
about
fumbling.
Every Super Bowl. You could say about every Super Bowl. They got a friendly
I think that's
whistle
one of the
on
rare Super Bowls that no one really had an issue with the officials either.
Did you know Gordon was still doing it?
I did, yes.
As a
I
Raven.
did, yes,
And
I
still
did,
fumbling.
Yes.
Okay, often. Jalen Hurts, the rare quarterback whose last name connotes how he was feeling on Sunday. If Mike Vrabel has a chance to stick it to a division rival, you can bet he's going to stick it to a division rival. That's what Vrabel does.
And
Classic Vrabes.
non-division rivals and the Dolphins and anyone in Vrabel's way.
TJ Watt said he's never won a playoff game. TJ, it runs in the family. Jaguars choked.
Ouch.
What happened there? What do you mean, ouch, what?
I don't know. Like, it runs in the family. The Watts are pretty good
Watt
at
made it to an
sacking
AFC Championship
quarterbacks.
game.
You did?
Yeah, remember they led big at Kansas City, and then everyone bet Chiefs live because we knew exactly how that was going to go.
Who was
and
the
we all
quarterback?
laughed. Deshaun Watson was the quarterback for Houston.
Okay.
And
Apologies.
what's Derek Watt up to? He might have won one somewhere.
He might have. Let's check that.
It's going to be odd seeing the Texans in the playoffs, though,
If he
without
did,
Hoyer,
I guarantee
right?
you we got a friendly whistle.
Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. Is it going to be odd seeing the Texans in the playoffs without Hoyer?
Trevor Lawrence is just a younger Derek Carr. The quarterback you think you want until you have them.
Have the Houston Texans ever played on Wild Card Weekend where it's not the very first game of the playoffs? It is not the Houston. It is not Super Wild Card Saturday,
Early Saturday
without
slot.
the Houston Texans kicking you off.
They should play the Bengals every year in that game. I feel like for 3 years straight, a few years back, that's what it was. Texans-Bengals.
Joe Coy blaming the writers for bad jokes and bombing at the Golden Globes. Joe Coy, the Stugotz is strong in you. The Eagles lost the get-right game. Time to panic. Leonard Fournette, still amazed by this, is a Buffalo Bill. Playoff Lenny. A lot of pushes for him last night. Tush push.
That's all he did.
That's his job.
Champion Leonard Fournette's job was simply to push Josh Allen last night.
C.J. Stroud, best quarterback in that division. Not even close. South Dakota State wins a second straight FCS national title. You know what they did, Dan?
I do not.
They went back-to-back.
Oh.
The Jackrabbits. I love that name.
Why are Cody and Jess laughing at something that isn't the weekend observation?
It seems like we found the guy who was stuck in the vase.
Really?
Well, the internet found him, and I'm going to send this to Matt. Let's see if we can get him on.
All right. Bijan Robinson looks good. Wonder why they don't use him more. Arthur Smith, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Black Monday, a day where a bunch of white guys get fired and are replaced by other white guys. Gardner Minshew reminding the country that he's a good backup, but a backup nonetheless.
Did we not give you the laughter you wanted with that pause?
It's okay.
where you
Everyone's
waited-
tired. I'm tired. You're tired. Josh Allen did the thing.
What's the thing?
I don't know. Josh Allen.
Yeah, he did the thing.
30 of 38, 350. I'll run through you. A couple turnovers. I win.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
It's his thing.
Now that you explain it, yes. Now that you've elaborated, I understand entirely.
Dan, keep an eye on NC State. Good coaching. Great senior guard play. Don't be surprised if come March,
Wow.
the Wolfpack
It's early.
find themselves in the Elite Eight.
It's early for the Wolfpack.
They're good. Mike knows.
Damn good.
Yep. Death, taxes, and Chris Paul out 4 to 6 weeks. The Packers have beaten the Bears 10 straight times. You know what the Packers have, Dano?
The Bears number?
Wow, you are good. You're on it. Little sleep. I mean,
4 hours of sleep.
you're locked in. You don't bet against C.J. Stroud in a got-to-have-it game and live to talk about it.
You don't?
Nope.
I thought that last national championship.
You didn't have to have that.
He didn't?
Everything worked out fine for him.
Michigan game.
Worked out
Playoff
fine.
game.
Number 2 pick in the draft, Texans, playoff. Everyone's talking about him. I mean, no one wants to face him. The Knicks waive Taj Gibson 3 weeks after reuniting with Tom Thibodeau. It's not a goodbye. It's a see you later.
Stu, weren't you the guy who said you saw CJ Stroud play at Northwestern and he was terrible?
Oh, awful. But it was a lot of rain, a lot of wind, terrible field conditions. It was bad, but he was awful. I mean, they were trailing at the half to Northwestern. Where was it? Chris Paul fractured his left hand, probably because he didn't have a ring to break his fall.
Come on.
What happened there?
What are you doing?
Come on, what?
What are you doing for Chris Paul? What did he do?
I've been doing it to him for 15 years.
But all he did was
He
get
didn't do
hurt.
anything. You know what happened? Stephen A. Smith and other NBA, experts kept telling me that Chris Paul is a top 5 point guard of all time. And I told them he's not. Because all the great point guards in the history of the NBA, Dan, the top 5, Magic, Isaiah, all those guys, they've all won championships. He is not. I'm sorry. He's not a top 5 point guard of all time. He's a good player, Hall of Fame player, with no rings.
Charles Barkley's not a top.
He's a great player.
Not a top.
He would
power.
not be a top 5 power forward for me all time.
So it's always
Putting together top
championships.
5 power forwards.
Okay, it's always championships for you. That's all that it is.
You can't be top 5 in the NBA at your position and not win championships. I'm sorry.
Dan Marino can't be one of the best quarterbacks.
He's not top 5.
Not top 5.
No.
Ted Williams. Did Ted Williams win a title?
Splendid Splinter.
I don't think Ted Williams ever won a title. Did he win a title?
I have no idea.
I don't think so.
You know, Leonard Fournette's only 28 years old.
What?
He's the same age as Baker Mayfield.
It's a bit shocking. Yeah. Well, but I mean,
same age as Deshaun Watson.
He's looked 35 since he was in college. He's looked 35 since he was a freshman in college.
I mean, Tim Duncan, what did he do?
He won championships.
Better than Barkley, right?
Yes.
Right.
I mean, but that's
Karl Malone, not a top 5 power forward of all time. He's not. Sorry. It's my list.
It is your list.
You're entitled to yours.
Yes.
You want my top 5 power forwards of all time?
I don't think I do.
I want yours.
I think Barkley would be on my top 5 list.
Rayman's on there. The dunks, man.
Sean Kemp over Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a discourse I want to engage in.
I really don't, though, if this is the way that we're going to do it. It's just championships. All those championships Sean Kemp won.
What do you do with Rodman, the worm, huh?
I put him as
3 titles.
Special designation of
Horace Grant.
category in the Hall of Fame for being the best rebounder ever. Horace Grant.
3 titles.
He did it against Jordan in the playoffs. People forget that.
He did. Outplayed him.
Many people will say the Bills had a season to remember. Sean McDermott will call it a season he will never forget. Robert Saleh has to lead the NFL in wins after his team has been officially eliminated. The Titans did what the Titans do. If you back Derrick Henry into a corner, he's always going to have a 153-yard, 1-touchdown game in his back pocket. It will always be there.
It is. You're right.
Where was I?
Leonard Fournette is just a couple of months older than Deebo Samuel.
What?
It's shocking that Leonard Fournette is 28 years old. Put it on the poll.
Very young.
At LeBatard Show, Juju, are you shocked that Leonard Fournette is only 28?
Sabotage from the inside. I can relate, Pat McAfee. You don't beat the Raiders on the day Jack Squirick passes away.
That's true.
You don't do it.
That's true.
I botched that.
That's the truth.
I'm not happy about it. They're 1-0 when Jack Squirick passes away.
That's right.
Too soon? Green Bay Packers, a wide receiver away, had no idea the elbow room was still a thing. Buffalo, you can have it. The elbow room. The Dolphins have lost that game in that spot for the past 3 decades. Their fans own personal version of hell. Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
I'm being told by our video team, I hope it's ready. I'm being told by our video team we have a different look, an alternate camera view of the gentleman that got stuck in the pot, and we have the still image going up right now.
What is the matter with him?
It's way more funny, and he looks a lot taller than he did when he was on his back. This gentleman, Matthew Kelleher, is taller than you would think.
That looks like a gathering between Matthew Kelleher, Chris Whittingham, and Tony Romo was off to the side.
Does look like Whitty behind him.
He's like, lads, come check this guy out.
Good shout, as he would say.
I wanted to ask you something that I saw was happening during our watch party yesterday. A lot of people, and this doesn't happen to me, but I'm always confused by it. A lot of people get really mad at Chris Collinsworth. And in this particular case, they get mad at the way Chris Collinsworth talks about Josh Allen, the enthusiasm. He talks this way about Patrick Mahomes as well. And can you guys explain to me just in general why it is? Because these two guys it happens to, but they also have a greatness and an athleticism that I think is awe-inspiring. And I like that Chris Collinsworth is still watching football in a way that allows him to be awed. I want emotion from my broadcasters, and I am confused by people getting mad at broadcasters being overly praising of someone who deserves that praise, because as you're watching the athleticism, it's clearly awe-inspiring. Do you understand? Because you, during the break during the break, you are somebody. During the break, this actually happened. I'm not making this up. I'm going to quote directly because I wrote it down. Stugotz was talking to himself and his computer. And he was reading someone or something that was saying, Dolphins are a finesse team. This is what Stugotz said, muttering to his computer. Dolphins are a finesse team. Dolphins are not good enough. Oh, fuck you. Like, just said it, muttered it.
They were good enough 3 weeks ago.
Directly at his computer, and I don't get fired up like that about those things. But as it relates to Collinsworth, do you guys like him? Does the room like Chris Collinsworth? Because I view him as polarizing, and I think he's just one of the best. I don't think he should be polarizing.
He's okay. I understand why people get upset when they're praising Josh Allen, when analysts are praising Josh Allen, because really, what has Josh Allen done? He hasn't been to a Super Bowl. He lost. The game that he's most famous for is a game that he lost against Kansas City at Kansas City, and he hasn't done much else. Yes, it is great to watch him play football. He's a great football player. I'd love for him to be my quarterback, but we hyperventilate about a guy who hasn't really done anything in the postseason yet.
But that's not what the hyperventilation is about. It's not about winning, because that's the result being in hand. It's not the way Chris Collinsworth talks about him after the game. It's during the game. It's before he's done the winning. And what I'm watching is an uncommon athleticism, where a quarterback is not scared to get physical with the people on the defense, where defensive players don't particularly want to tackle him because it looks like it hurts to tackle Josh Allen, where giant men bounce off him.
It bothers people extra when it's Josh Allen. I don't understand why. Because he's over the top with Patrick Mahomes, certainly. A lot of reason to be there. With Lamar Jackson, he is just open-mouthed in awe every time he's doing a Lamar Jackson.
But what's
Jackson
wrong
game.
with that, I guess, is what I'm asking you.
These guys do incredible things.
And more to the point, if in the modern media economy, we're only going to pay giant stars $17 million a year to broadcast games around NFL games, where Troy Aikman and Joe Buck are going to come in and make a lot more than Stephen A. Smith for 17 weeks a season, for half a season, because the NFL insists on its broadcasters being high-end, and the NFL is going to like any broadcaster that's celebrating its game. Adam Silver has complained. Jeff Van Gundy probably doesn't have a job anymore because he's not quite positive enough about sales, doing sales during a broadcast. What's wrong? What's generally wrong? I'm asking because I'm genuinely confused by the reaction to Collinsworth getting excited. I thought that's what you wanted from your announcers. I thought it's what the league wanted. I thought the reason
the league's not complaining.
But
Dolphin fans are.
But it's not just Dolphin fans. I'm not talking about Dolphin fans. Collinsworth gets this all the time when he's talking, when he's giving too much praise to quarterbacks who probably deserve a great deal of praise, because the quarterback play is pretty awful. They're pretty injured. Like there are a lot of guys out there that are not high-end quarterback play. We just talk about not understanding how Mike Tomlin gets to the Super Bowl because Mason Rudolph can't be your quarterback when you're getting to the playoffs.
Well, Jim, I think sports fans are just haters, and I say that as the biggest hater. I have more fun hating than I do liking sometimes. Well, most of the time. Because my teams are sometimes not very good. It's just fun to hate.
Yeah.
And I think we're all just haters deep down.
I'm generally positive, but I'm a hater on Wembanyama, and I like leaning into it.
You are a big hater.
Well, he's so good. He's too good.
Hater recognize hater.
He's too good. It's unfair. You guys, the normies are waking up, too.
Why are you surprised by this? I got mad last night when they compared Josh Allen to John Elway.
I got mad during the Steelers game when Dan Orlovsky was like, they should throw it to George Pickens. I was like, psh. What do you know? Hand it off to Najee Harris. What do you know, Dan Orlovsky?
It's all they talked about.
Did Pickens have a 1,000-yard season?
I don't think so. I don't know. Off the top of my
Because
head.
I think I heard that he had like 1,000-yard season. I'm like, how does he have enough receptions for that?
That has to be 60 yards a game, correct? To get to a 1,000-yard season?
If you say so.
Then yeah.
Might not
Najee
even,
Harris had another 1,000-yard season.
What do I do? 60
might not
times
even be
17?
60. It might be 50 yards a game. And that's all
That's
you
why they
have
should
to
have kept
there.
handing it off.
1,140 yards for George Pickens off of 63 receptions and an average of 18.1.
I mean, that's all he did, right?
Hell yeah.
That's wild. He
Stugotz,
had a 1,000-yard season at 63 receptions.
It's not that I'm surprised by
Do
it.
math, then.
It's that I'm confused by it. It's that I don't understand it. I thought and I guess, yeah, Jessica's making a point there that makes sense. It is fun to hate, but it's fun to hate guys who you know are great. Because
Yeah, because he's not yours.
It kept the NBA afloat.
It's more fun to hate guys that are great. If you hate guys that stink, then like that's not fun at all.
No, it stops being fun after a while.
But Mahomes is not he's not a hateable creature, is he? There's not a great deal of hatred toward Mahomes. It seems to me.
But I think most fans understand the praise of Mahomes.
Generally, most people project the Mahomes stuff on either his wife or brother.
This is what I would say to you about Mahomes. I would say that the greater hateful reaction toward his play is toward broadcasters who are over-celebrating it more than it is to Mahomes and the play itself or anything about Mahomes' personality. I would say that outside of Mahomes' brother and Mahomes' wife, that the great polarization around Mahomes, the third place polarization around Mahomes, is not anything Mahomes related other than he's so great, he makes these broadcasters who have seen a lot of football serenade America with praise of Mahomes that makes people recoil. And I think Jessica might be right, not only on the hateful part of this, but also the part that a whole lot of fan bases are soaked in quarterback envy. That they want that quarterback. They want somebody to talk about their players that way. But is it overdone? Do you guys, do the people listening to this?
Not with Patrick.
But no, with Josh Allen, Stugotz.
Yes, overdone.
Don't make it about winning, Stugotz. Just make it about athletic grace. Don't make it about winning for once in your life.
Okay.
Don't make it about winning. Just make it about just celebrating sports greatness. I understand that you're a critic.
He is worth celebrating, yes. Unlike just about anyone I've ever seen play that position.
You were objecting to the comparisons to John Elway on the broadcast last night.
But I was factoring in championships.
But as an athlete, like Stugotz, I think one of the fascinating things about Tyreek Hill is that you're watching somebody on a field full of athletes be more of an athlete in a way that confuses you.
Yep.
To me, who was it the other day? One of you was talking about how physically big Troy Aikman actually is because of a photo that was circulating, that people don't understand how big these quarterbacks are. Most people listening to this, I don't think, understand how large Tom Brady is, how large Peyton Manning are. It's not just that they're 6'5", it's they're 6'5" and super thick. Josh Allen is a size, a weight, a sturdiness that I'm surprised every time I see a giant man at full strength bounce off of him in the backfield.
After the controversial end to the Lions-Cowboys game, Scott Van Pelt tossed back to the booth, and I guess they moved Joe Buck's apple crate out of the way to make room for John Perry. So you have Troy Aikman standing next to John Perry and Joe Buck, and without the two-shot and apple crate, you realize Troy Aikman's literally twice the size of these human beings, not just in height, but in width, in the shoulders. He's a giant man in that booth.
I think a lot of people would be surprised if they stood next to Tom Brady.
Tyreek Hill is older than Leonard Fournette.
Come on.
Could just be the angle, right? You had the Amin Antonio Davis situation.
We're right side by side.
Okay.
This wasn't perspective.
Do you think there's any shame involved for any of these broadcasters having to step on a milk crate to be next to another broadcaster?
They just care about the final shot. What's it look like?
So they don't, when they're...
Joe Buck's only listed as 3 inches shorter than Troy Aikman.
I don't think of Joe Buck as small.
He's 6'1".
I don't
Troy Aikman's 6'4".
Which means he's probably 5'11", right? Do we do that with broadcasters? We give them a couple inches?
No one's 5'11".
I'm 5'11", actually.
Who are you thinking of, Dan? Like Al Michaels?
I'm just thinking about anybody having to rummage around like underneath the desk to go get. I think of this one. Have you ever seen those photos of like Pesci and De Niro walking around in fake shoes?
The platforms?
Because
Yes.
with these,
Those are super in style right now, by the way.
not these.
Yeah,
Not
the,
these.
the huge platform loafers. I could buy a pair right now.
Video, find for me, please, this photograph or video of Pacino and De Niro walking around, or Pesci and De Niro walking around. They're not, I don't think these are platforms, Jess. I think these are movie-made shoes that are meant to be like
They're custom, for
5
sure.
inches taller. They're practically, these people are practically walking around on stilts.
I'm telling you, comically high platform loafers are extremely in right now. I might buy a pair for Vegas.
Here is why I don't get
Get
fashion.
you a pair too, Stu.
Thank you.
I'm not making up the story I'm about to tell you. My wife bought me shoes that I wore in the other day that everybody celebrated. Everybody was like, those are great. We love those. And I'm like, I would have never bought these sneakers. You know why? Because in the 80s, the kids who wore these sneakers were made fun of by the other kids. I remember. I was there. The shoes that are now popular were mocked in my childhood. I'm wearing them. Look at that. Those are popular, Jess.
I could buy them right now from Nordstrom.